Our president showed up in New York City last night. And needless to say, what I feared would happen ended up happening. The New York Knicks lost. And obviously, I'm blaming him. The president disrupted our mojo. The man messed things up. Not only did we lose the game, did you see traffic? Did you see the watch party that wasn't outside of Madison Square Garden?
What the hell was that? What the hell was that? We are in the midst of the most high-profile NBA Finals in almost 10 years. 3 games into this series, every game has been decided in the final 2 minutes. It's been dramatic, it's been tense. There are plenty of storylines, plenty of things to talk about. It has been everything that the WNBA is not. And Stephen A. Smith, the supposed face of ESPN, keyword, supposed, he wants to waste an entire segment of First Take talking about Don Trump? No wonder their ratings are stagnant. No wonder First Take was the only show on ESPN not to show ratings growth in the first quarter of this year. And it's damn sure no surprise that ESPN is making moves to replace Stephen A. Smith as the face of their network. Headline at The Athletic: ESPN negotiating new deal that could pay Pat McAfee $60 million a year. I'll be honest with you, I was surprised when I saw this report last night for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm surprised that Pat McAfee has survived this long at the network formerly known as the worldwide leader in woke. Historically, Pat McAfee has a reputation of being a media hoe. He stays at a company for 2, maybe 3 years. Then he dumps them for a better deal. To his credit, though, Pat McAfee has single-handedly changed ESPN for the better. I didn't think it was possible, but this dude found the way to make the impossible possible. He has almost eradicated the woke fungus from this network. Now, that being said, is Pat McAfee worth $60 million a year? His ratings on TV suck. Now, when combined with his YouTube audience, Pat McAfee's averaging around 520,000 viewers, which isn't bad, but it's damn sure not worth $60 million a year. But Uncle KC, Pat McAfee draws younger viewers. He's real popular with the cool kids. Yeah, Pat McAfee is kind of like Nickelodeon. He's great with the kids, but with the grown-ups, with the grown men, Pat McAfee kind of struggles. Last week, ESPN tested him with a primetime audience. He interviewed the commissioners of every major sports league in America, along with Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner of pretend basketball. Pat McAfee's primetime special, when the grown-ups are watching ESPN, it drew 278,000 viewers. Now, just to give you a comparison, WNBA games on USA Network average around 300,000 viewers. This potential deal between Pat McAfee and ESPN, it's not just for his show. It includes College Game Day. It includes other appearances that Pat McAfee makes on the network. With ESPN willing to double his compensation from $30 million to $60 million, it is abundantly clear ESPN wants Pat McAfee to be the face of their network, which means they are dumping Stephen A. Smith. And to me, that is what this is all about. It's less about Pat McAfee and more about the decline of Stephen A. Smith. I'm starting to wonder if ESPN regrets that $100 million contract they gave Stephen A. Smith last year. Vince McMahon and the WWF, they were in a similar situation back in the mid-90s. At the time, the company was struggling financially, and their biggest star, Bret Hart, he was being seduced by WCW. "Hey, Bart, it's me, Teddy Turner. We are willing to pay you $2 million a year to pretend to hit other men in the face. We'll give you $3 million for passionate bear hugs." Vince McMahon was backed into a corner. He couldn't afford to lose his biggest star, but at the same time, he also couldn't really afford to pay him. So he comes up with this 20-year contract worth $20 million over the length of the deal. 1 year into the agreement, Vince McMahon already has regrets. For starters, Bret Hart's drawing power was starting to decline. Plus, he was 40 years old. But there was a younger star along with a younger generation of talent that were changing the direction of the company. Is this starting to sound a little bit familiar? Long story short, Vince McMahon infamously screws over Bret Hart. Now, is that going to happen to Stephen A. Smith at ESPN? Obviously not. But I am starting to wonder if ESPN regrets locking him into a long-term, expensive contract. ESPN will never publicly admit that they have doubts with Stevie, but you got to look at their actions. Last week, ESPN issued a press release to promote their coverage of the NBA Finals. Check it out for yourself. Do you notice anyone missing? There are 28 faces on this press release, and the supposed face of the network is not included. Doris Burke is calling the NBA Finals on ESPN Radio, where you literally can't see her face. Yet somehow, her face is on the press release, but the face of Stephen A. Smith is not. Not only was the supposed face of the network not visually included on the press release, Stephen A. Smith, he was not mentioned once in this report. Just think about that. Stephen A. Smith is a fan of the New York Knicks. His team is in the NBA Finals, and his network has exclusive coverage. Yet, for some reason, Stephen A. Smith was not invited to cover the NBA Finals. I wonder why. Uncle KC Pat McAfee wasn't included on this press release either. Yeah, that's true. But Pat McAfee was given his own broadcast for Game 3. Pat McAfee focuses on football. The NBA is secondary on his show. The NBA is supposed to be Stephen A's area of expertise, and ESPN is keeping him at a distance. Why? I think part of the reason has to do with what happened last year. You guys remember when Stephen A. Smith was busted playing solitaire during the NBA Finals? He tried to downplay it, but it was embarrassing for ESPN. But I think the main reason Stephen A. Smith is being phased out, maybe ESPN is starting to notice that he is checked out. Couple of months ago, Stevie was on First Take talking about the other Stevie, Steve Kerr. At the time, there was speculation as to whether Steve Kerr was leaving Golden State. Now, keep in mind, Stephen A. Smith is supposed to be an NBA expert. This is the league that he supposedly watches every night, especially during the playoffs. Listen to what he said about the Warriors. Watch it for yourself.
And they haven't been back to the playoffs since that championship in 2022. That's 4 years away from the playoffs. And again, you can pay guys a lot less than $17 million a year to miss the playoffs. We understand that.
According to Stevie, this team is a flaming S-fire. The Warriors haven't made the playoffs since our former fearless leader, Johnny B. Biden, was still considered a young man in 2022. Obviously, the Warriors have made the playoffs twice since their last championship. They even had 2 memorable series in the first round that went 7 games. Uncle Casey, this was just a simple mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. Yeah, but with Stephen A. Smith, it's not just about the mistakes. If you watch First Take, you can tell that Stephen A. is checked out. And look, it's not about laziness. It's not about work ethic. There is no doubt Stephen A. Smith, hard worker. It just doesn't seem like he cares. Like I told you guys before, Stephen A. Smith has an impossible schedule, 2 hours of live TV every morning with First Take. He has a couple of shows on Sirius XM, 2 or 3 days every week on his YouTube channel. Since YouTube has demonetized thousands and thousands of AI channels, most of us creators, we are seeing drastic increases in viewership. Unfortunately for Stephen A. Smith, his views are trending in the opposite direction. Now, some of that can be attributed to him uploading less videos, but why is he uploading less videos on YouTube? My guess is he doesn't have the time. I don't think Stephen A. Smith is intentionally checking out. I think it's a natural symptom of his schedule. Do you know how hard it is to create 15, 18, 20 hours of live content every week? Do you know how hard it is to stay informed on everything going on in sports and everything in politics at the same time? It's damn near impossible, at least if you want to do it effectively. Why do you think Stephen A. Smith wanted less debate on First Take? Why do you think he moved to have a rotating panel on the show? Think about it. When you're debating one person every day, especially when it's someone like Skip Bayless who is over-prepared, or someone like Max Kellerman who is brilliant, when you're debating them on a daily basis, you gotta be ready. You gotta be prepared. Otherwise, they're gonna make you look like a dumbass. But when you're having a light conversation with Cameron, a damn rapper, or when you have a rotating panel of so-called experts and analysts, they can do the heavy lifting, and Stephen A. Smith can be performative. He can step in and be entertaining. It's a hell of a lot less work. And the problem for ESPN, it ain't working. First Take is stagnant. It's boring. The show never generates headlines. Meanwhile, Pat McAfee is constantly bringing attention to ESPN, which is why he's about to triple Stephen A. Smith's salary. You gotta remember, when Stephen A. was negotiating his contract with ESPN last year, he wanted to be the highest paid talent at the network, but more importantly, he wanted to make more money than Pat McAfee. He's about to make significantly less. I wonder if that's going to cause problems. Pat McAfee is younger. He's around my age, and clearly he provides more value. Otherwise, in the midst of massive layoffs, ESPN wouldn't be willing to pay him 3 times the amount they're paying Stephen A. Smith. They are phasing Stephen A. out and giving Pat McAfee his spot. And I wonder how long it's going to take before Stephen A. Smith says something about it. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.